Do you ever feel like your life no longer fits? I get it. About 2 years ago, something shifted for me, and nothing felt normal. Nothing felt familiar. Even parts of myself felt unfamiliar. It's like an unfamiliar landscape. It's sort of, you kind of recognize it, but yet it's really different, and everything feels unsteady, and it doesn't really feel very welcoming. It's an uncomfortable place to be. And the feeling is like it's not broken, but something's just off balance, out of kilter. I was definitely feeling that way. And it's not that everything was wrong, it was that everything had shifted. And so it was that what used to fit, what just seemed like kind of like the familiar clothing you put on each day that just fits and feels comfortable. Instead, it didn't anymore. I was already in my 70s. And so, what am I supposed to do with that? I've had a business online at that point for almost 20 years, 21 now, and I'm 75 now. And so, there's that part of you that says, "Well, is it too late to do something different? What is this feeling?" And so the thing is, our mind wants to keep us safe. And so when things start feeling unfamiliar, it's more like batten down the hatches and stay very still, or run as fast as you can the other direction. And this isn't about running away from something. It's not even running to something. It's more about, how do I get comfortable inside my own self again? How do I know how to navigate these unfamiliar waters? And see, the mind wants safety. That goes all the way back to cave dwellers, like there's saber-toothed tigers and Tyrannosaurus Rex right outside the entrance to the cave. So we are not going out there. We're not going out there to challenge any of that. We are hunkering down and staying safe in the cave. That's thousands of years of training built into us. Stay safe, climb the tree, stay in the cave, you know, don't rock the boat, literally. And so we end up staying in the known, or we're trying to. And I don't like the word trying. I've often said I don't recommend using the word try on anything you're doing, because it's kind of like a weasel clause, a side door. Well, I tried, so therefore, that kind of thing. But the familiar is staying in the known, staying in the job, staying in the role, staying in the business you've always had, staying at the messaging you've always had, whatever that might look like for you, staying in the marriage you've always had, staying in the family relationships. And maybe those have changed without you wanting them to. Even they have changed, and you're looking at photos of, this is how it used to be, and why is it like this now? That feels unfamiliar. Or you're shifting of, there's part of you that wants to do something different, or maybe doesn't want to do something anymore. And there's just this tug of war going on. I get comments from people saying, I'm going through a change in my life right now. It scares me. I know I need to do something, but I'm stuck. And that we have that paralysis. And you've heard the term paralysis by analysis, and that's kind of what's happening, because we are trying to figure it out. We are trying to think our way through something that is way beyond just merely, what should we do today? Just, well, this sounds like a good idea. It's way beyond that. And so we're trying to figure it out instead of feeling something. And maybe we are feeling something. We don't want to feel it anymore. We want to change that feeling to something else. And so we're frantically trying to do that. Sometimes we try to do that by overdoing other behaviors. Maybe we're sleeping too much. Maybe we're watching way too much Netflix these days. Maybe we're eating the wrong things, or drinking, or smoking, or whatever else to numb that that feeling of unrest, that feeling of agitation. And it definitely affects relationships as well. See, the thing is, our minds are trained to stay out of the danger zone. Danger, danger, Will Robinson. Do you remember that show? It's like your mind is saying, hey, wait a minute here. Don't change too much. Don't disrupt what works. This is what's been working for years. Why are you trying to do something different now? And but the problem is things aren't fitting anymore the way they used to. And so you're trying to jam the classic, round peg into the square hole kind of deal. And we think that if we just fix one thing, if we can just figure out that one thing, it'll go back to normal. That could happen in your business, that could happen in your marketing messaging, but it happens in your life in general. Like what you're doing, where you're spending your time, what it is that you're going to do next, what's happening with your finances. All of these things start getting involved. Your health, things that are changing as we grow older. We are aging, right? And especially if you're past 50, you start noticing, well, oh, some things that used to seem really easy. I can remember uh, when we would move when I was younger and had really small kids, and we'd move into a new place, and we moved into we bought a condo, and it had stairs. It was on the second floor, and we had stairs that went up to it, and it had a little deck. And I was doing my tiny gardening back then. I didn't have much of a garden, but I still wanted to plant something. And those great big whiskey barrels, the big half barrels that they're old bourbon or whiskey barrels you can buy like at big box stores in the garden center kind of thing. They're heavy. And we were moving one. My husband was at work. This was back before Ron when my kids were little. My husband was at work, and I was determined to we're going to settle into our new condo as fast as possible. And I had this barrel, and it was filled to the top with potting soil because I didn't want to waste the potting soil. So it was really, really heavy. And I sat on those steps one at a time, holding onto the edge of that barrel, and would pull it to the next step. And then I'd move my posterior to the next step up, and I'd pull it to the next step. I was so determined I alone would get that huge, heavy barrel up those stairs. And you know what? I did. Well, those days are long gone. I lift things up and put things down. There's a funny little skit on television about that. But I got that barrel all the way to the top and then edged it bit by bit, dragging it across the little landing we had, the little patio to the corner where I thought it would be nice to plant something. Because I just felt like I was unstoppable. I could do anything if I put my mind to it. I was in my early 30s then. Things have changed by the time I'm 75. I'm not going to try and drag a barrel like that up any steps. I'm not going to even try and move it a few inches across a patio, and so there are just things that are a new normal, things that we used to do. And that normal, whatever that looks like for you, whether it's a relationship or your health or your business or what you're retiring, but you're not retiring, and just all these things, that normal isn't available anymore. And so just really just facing off with that, just understanding that that is the case. Think about that one for a minute. It's just not available anymore. So where does that leave you? What do we do? Because for those of us of a certain vintage, likely past 50, maybe past 60, maybe past 70, maybe all the way into the 80s. I have clients that started working with me when they're in their 80s. There is another layer to this that doesn't really get talked about that much, especially by those way younger than us who think they're invincible, can lift heavy things, and are going to live forever. And there's one word that sums it up: urgency. Have you noticed that? That there starts to be this urgency creeping in. You start thinking things like, what if this is all there is? You start humming the theme from an old movie. What's it all about, Alfie? If you're of a certain vintage, you know what I'm talking about. What if this is the downhill slide? What if I can't stop this? What if this is just me careening into the final chapter? And here's the other really big one. I don't have 20 more years to figure this out. Maybe not even 10, who knows, right? I mean, be honest now. Does that creep into your thoughts of, I don't have the kind of time I used to think I had? Because there is a point. There is a point, an ending point for this part of our existence. But here's the thing, that urgency may be a real feeling, but it doesn't have to mean panic. It's acknowledge it. Yep, there it is. I'm staring it down. It means time has become honest. Now, I know there's all kinds of things of time's just a construct, it's not real, and we're not going to go into all of that. Let's just say regular everyday stuff. There's the clock, it's ticking. There's the calendar, the pages are changing. Here's the new year, which is already not the new year already. It's kind of getting used to. We write down the new date, we're getting used to doing that. So now it's become much more honest and real. And so one of the hardest parts to this feeling of unfamiliarity is feeling unfamiliar to yourself. Like, who is this person? Have you ever looked in the mirror in the morning and just kind of gone, do I look different? I feel different. What do you do with that? Because that can feel incredibly lonely, even if you're not alone, even if you're with a loving companion, a partner in life. There's just some journeys we all take alone. And this is one of them, to a certain point, that it can feel like that. I know the feeling I have had over the past couple of years has not been comfortable. It has not been fun. I've had plenty of times of just feeling like, really, is this it? I mean, not that life was ending, but life as I knew it was ending. But here's what I've learned. This doesn't mean you've hit a wall. It means you've reached a threshold, a doorway, a portal, an opening to a new room, a new place in the scheme of things, in the house of your life, so to speak. I think the most important thing about this isn't deciding what's next. Okay, I've got to have a plan. Got to have my 10-year plan. I mean, it's been quite a while that I have felt like when people talk about their business plan, the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan, it's kind of like, yeah, okay, well, it feels different now. It just does. Maybe you know what I mean. It just does. That's all. And it's something that someone who's 30 or 35 or even approaching 40 probably isn't feeling that yet. And that's nothing against them. We've all been down that path. I really felt like I had just had so much time when I was in my 20s and 30s, even if I didn't know what I was doing with it, that it was there, it was available. The pathway was long and wide, and I could barely see the horizon. And the thing about the horizon is no matter how fast you go, it's always still out there. The same now, it's always still out there. It's just that maybe we have a clearer view. And so rather than deciding what's next, I think I have a list, I have to decide, I have to make a plan, the whole deal, and feeling that urgency. What if it was just as simple as being willing, just being willing to allow something new in, being willing to look at it from a different angle, being willing to find, not to sound Pollyanna-ish, but actually to find where is the good in this? Is there something that serves me in this? Is there a lesson for me in this? I've talked about this before because I believe that there are lessons that we're meant to learn, and if we don't get them, they're going to keep repeating until we do, or we're just left to our own devices to keep on muddling, and choosing to live in that feeling of unrest and unhappiness. And if I were going to say life's too short for anything, it's too short to live it as in a stoic suffering capacity. That whole stoicism thing, we'll talk about that another time. I have my own thoughts about that. Our life is meant to bring us joy, to bring us meaning, to bring us comfort, to bring us happiness. And there's so many things in the world right now that are really working against that. So it really is an inner journey. It really is a connection to your deeper source, that self, that wisdom, the divinity of you, that spark of life. And being able to see where where the path may be opening up, where that threshold could be taking you. Will it be better? I don't know. I can't promise anyone that. I can tell you, though, with pretty much assurance, it will be different. There's just no going back and having it be the same way anymore. We've experienced this in so many ways, especially in the last 5 years or so, maybe 6. The difference is you still get a say in what that different looks like. You still get to shape what your future looks like. This is where you can think about momentum. And I'm not talking about hustle. I'm not talking about grind. I'm not talking about forcing, just momentum, movement as medicine. And staying alone, though, in this space can really make it feel even heavier. Even when you're with people that you love and you have support, all those things, there's still the inner journey that can feel heavy and difficult. And so, movement, even small movement, can be healing. For example, and you probably have heard this from many other people, certainly not original to me, but take a little walk, go outside and move around. We have a rebounder that we're getting reconnected to, of just realizing how just the movement of that is really invigorating and refreshing and restorative. Writing by hand, preferably, because the process of writing by hand also changes things in our brain, the neural pathways. Conversation, being able to connect with someone. I'm having a conversation with you right now. And if you feel like this was meant for you, it is. Trust that feeling. Structure, having certain things that we do each day reliably. I mean, I get ready for the day and always have, even though I work on my own in silence a lot of the time, quietly, right? In this office, in my home, I still get ready for work. And I may be casual, but I'm put together. I comb my hair, I put on some makeup, I decide which pair of my 22 pairs of glasses I'm going to wear today. Put on my earrings, because it's important to me, that structure. Otherwise I feel like I'm all out of sorts. This is just a personal thing for me. And community. Now, I'm not a big friend gatherer. I don't belong to a lot of organizations outside of our home and all of that, but there are other ways you can have community. And now, one of the great things is that we can have virtual communities. We can be together even though we may be miles apart. We can still transmit the feeling of community and care and support. And these things are not because it's going to fix everything. It's not an instant fix, but because it reminds you that you're still in motion. You're still here, right? And you don't have to solve your whole life all in one sitting, and you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to sit alone in the muddle, because that actually is really destructive. It can really turn into something a lot more difficult, like depression and more anxiety. And if you have that level, if it's really at a high level where it's really, really impacting your life and your thoughts, seek help. Find the help that you need, the support that you need. But on a lighter note, if it helps to have structure or questions that actually matter, or a space where people understand this season and are supportive and have ways to move through and find an expansive shift that might just be something really exciting and really rewarding, that's the work I do. So I'll just mention briefly, you'll see a link for a gap finder call. It's a one-on-one call with me. Also, I have a challenge, if that feels supportive, in a small group environment where we find that pathway to something, to being seen and heard and found for something we might want to bring to life online, out into the world. So if this resonated, let that matter, because it's not random. And that's the other thing, is just observing, watching for those signals. Because, you know, we're not done yet. There's still new discoveries, new experiences, new opportunities and possibilities, because it really is never too late. That's why you're here. That's why I'm here. And again, that's not random. This is Tina Lorenz. I want to thank you for spending time with me today. Please put in the comments if there's something I can answer for you, or if there's anything here that resonated for you. I would love to hear from you, because one of my purposes is to provide you with something helpful, something that will shift something for you. And if even one person experiences that, mission accomplished. I send you so much love and look forward to speaking with you again soon. Thanks for being here, and I'll talk to you again. Bye for now.